Would you ever follow someone through the rain only to uncover a secret that shatters everything you thought you knew? That's exactly what billionaire Andrew Caldwell did one cold Seattle night, and what he discovered would not only expose the quiet double life of his housekeeper Lauren Hayes, it would unravel his own carefully guarded world. She wasn't just the woman who dusted his penthouse in silence. She was the lifeline to a brother in med school, a guardian to an elderly neighbor, and the daughter of the only woman he ever truly loved. A woman he lost decades ago. But was it fate that brought Lauren into his life, or a dangerous illusion built on memory? As Andrew's feelings grow deeper and his past collides with the present, a single photo, a buried letter, and a public betrayal threaten to destroy everything. Unless both of them can risk everything for one impossible truth, love that doesn't ask permission. Stay with us, because what happens next will break your heart and then put it back together in a way you never saw coming. Andrew Caldwell never thought he'd stoop to following someone, especially not his own housekeeper. But there he was, ducking behind a parked SUV in the damp Seattle evening, his breath fogging in the cold. Across the street, Lauren Hayes, the quiet, efficient woman who cleaned his penthouse 3 times a week, walked briskly with 2 heavy grocery bags in hand. Her blonde braid bounced as she crossed under the flickering glow of a street lamp, unaware she was being watched. Andrew should have turned around. He knew it. But something about her had been gnawing at him for weeks now. At first, it was nothing more than curiosity. She was punctual, polite, always maintained professional distance. But then came the subtle things, the way she rearranged his books by author instead of color, how she always left a fresh mug by the coffee machine, like she knew he'd need it. The second time he saw her walking past his building after hours, he told himself it was coincidence. The third time he grabbed his coat and followed her. He expected a coffee shop, maybe a boyfriend. What he saw instead broke something open inside him. Lauren had stopped at a pharmacy, emerging with prescription bags. Then she crossed the street and entered a crumbling apartment complex. From a dimly lit first-floor window, Andrew saw her helping an elderly woman with a walker, feeding her, making her laugh. An hour later, a young man came in, clutching medical textbooks. Lauren embraced him like family, and she fed him too while he studied. They were clearly struggling, but the warmth in that room made Andrew's chest ache. It was more alive than anything inside his million-dollar condo. He was still standing outside when she walked back out and froze, her eyes locking onto his. "Mr. Caldwell. What are you doing here?" Andrew felt like a teenager caught sneaking out of school. I saw you walking and I just followed." Lauren's tone turned sharp, but her composure held. "You followed me. I didn't mean to intrude. I didn't know you." "You didn't know because it's not your business." Her voice was quiet but firm. "I'm your employee, sir. What I do after I finish scrubbing your floors is my life, not yours." She stepped back, but her hands trembled. Andrew swallowed hard. "You're right. I shouldn't have followed you. But Lauren, what I saw, it wasn't just errands. You were helping, caring for people. When do you rest?" She looked away, jaw clenched. "I don't need your concern or your pity. I'm not pitying you. I'm stunned," he admitted, "by how much you do for others." 3 weeks earlier, Andrew had been sitting in his sleek, silent penthouse in Belltown, staring out at the Seattle skyline like it was some kind of elaborate prison. Since his divorce from Victoria Pierce, nothing in his life sparked joy. His home was filled with expensive furniture no one sat on, art he no longer admired, and the echo of a TV playing just to drown the quiet. Lauren arrived on schedule every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. She was efficient, professional, and visible, until she wasn't. Until the moment he realized she wasn't just tidying up his loneliness, she was quietly, unknowingly anchoring his crumbling world. And now, standing beneath that streetlight, she looked ready to vanish. Again. "Lauren," he said softly, "please don't walk away." "Not yet." She exhaled slowly. "I'm not your project, Mr. Caldwell. I know, but maybe I'd like to learn about the person who's been making my house feel like it's not completely empty." She stared at him for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she said, "I have to go. Daniel's waiting. He has night shift at the hospital." She turned, and Andrew didn't follow this time. Back home, he couldn't sleep. He paced his penthouse, haunted not by her anger, but by the raw strength behind it. 2 nights later, while organizing his bookshelf, Lauren's subtle influence already changing his habits, he found an old photo buried under a stack of unused frames. His breath caught. It was from college. He stood beside a woman with a radiant smile and strikingly familiar eyes. Isabel Rowan, the first woman he ever loved, the one who left him to marry someone her parents approved of, the one he never quite forgot. And now, decades later, her mirror image had walked into his life with a mop and a tired smile, and she was real, not a memory. Was it fate or madness? The following week, when Lauren arrived right on time, Andrew had canceled all meetings just to be there. She barely looked at him as she moved through the apartment like a ghost. He asked about the weather, offered her coffee, even joked clumsily about books. And when she paused with a worn copy of 100 Years of Solitude in hand, he dared to ask, "Have you read that one?" She hesitated, then murmured, "It's a masterpiece. Garcia Marquez makes magic feel like everyday life." Andrew smiled, caught off guard. "My favorite part is Jose Arcadio remembering the day his father took him to see ice." Her head tilted, slightly intrigued. The wonder of a child and the sorrow of a man remembering it. That contrast always stays with me. They shared a silence, charged, warm, unfamiliar. For a second, it felt like maybe they weren't so different. But any illusion was shattered when Victoria showed up 2 days later, unannounced, stilettos clicking on the polished floor. She looked Lauren up and down and sneered. "You're young, too pretty to be just a maid." Lauren flushed but said nothing. Victoria stepped closer. A word of advice. "My ex-husband. He gets fascinated, but it doesn't last. You think you're special? So did the last one." That night, Lauren placed her resignation letter on the marble countertop. When Andrew found it, she was already halfway to the elevator. "Lauren, what happened?" She didn't look back. "I'm leaving Friday. You'll have time to find someone new." "Is it the money I'll pay?" "It's not the money," she turned. "It's because this is starting to feel like something. And it can't be. I'm your employee. That's all I'll ever be." "Don't say that," Andrew whispered. But she was already gone. And somewhere in a darkened office nearby, Harris Kincaid uploaded the photos of Andrew following Lauren, his hand brushing hers, his gaze far too soft for a billionaire and a maid. The email draft to Seattle Weekly sat in his outbox, subject line, "Billionaire's dirty little secret." We're so sorry to pause here, but Lauren's story is far from over. Do you think Andrew should fight for her, even if it means risking his empire? And would you give up everything for someone who doesn't believe they're worthy of your love? If this story moved you, please give it a like and drop a heart to support us. We have so much more to share with you. Rain hammered the city like an accusation the night Lauren Hayes disappeared from Andrew Caldwell's life. By dawn, the tabloids were howling. Someone had leaked grainy photos of a billionaire lingering beneath a street lamp, eyes fixed on a woman carrying grocery sacks. The headline hinted at scandal. The board of Caldwell Ventures called an emergency meeting. Andrew walked out halfway through. He hadn't slept since Lauren quit, and the whispers about the maid felt painfully small compared to the emptiness clawing inside his chest. While his empire fretted about optics, Lauren was fighting clock hands. She started each morning before 5 at a Pike Place bakery, spent afternoons cleaning mid-tier condos, then answered tech support calls until midnight. Daniel tried to help, but his last year of med school devoured every hour and dollar he had. Bills stacked higher than empty coffee cups, and Lauren's face grew sharper, paler, determined to the point of self-destruction. Her name was Isabel Rowan. We loved each other once. Seeing you at first, it felt like the universe reopening an old wound. But that's not what this is anymore. Lauren's breath hitched. Then what is it you? He said simply. Your strength, your kindness, the way you quote Marquez when you think no one's listening. His throat tightened. I can't lose that light again. A knock interrupted them. Mrs. Dorothy Reynolds shuffled in, leaning on her cane, eyes bright with unshed tears. Child, you scared me straight to heaven's gate. She scolded Lauren, then turned to Andrew. She keeps everyone else alive. About time someone returned the favor. From her coat, she produced an envelope thick with yellowed pages. Found these in an old sewing box. Your mama asked me to hide them, she told Lauren. Said to hand them over when you discovered real love. Lauren's hands trembled as she slid out the first letter, Isabel's handwriting looping across the paper, confessing regrets, praying her daughter would never settle for safety over joy. Tears blurred Lauren's vision. "Why didn't I know any of this? Because love stories don't end," Dorothy whispered. "They wait." The door burst open again, Victoria pushing past Daniel, who followed with his phone still recording. "Andrew, you look exhausted," she purred. "The board is worried. Settle with the maid, pay her off, come home." Andrew stepped between Victoria and the bed. "Leave." Victoria's smile sharpened. "Fine, but tomorrow's front page will show exactly how charitable you've been." She nodded toward the hallway, where private investigator Harris Kincaid lingered like a vulture. "Those photos will sing," Daniel spoke up, voice shaking yet fierce. "And so will this audio, Ms. Pierce." He held up his phone. "Offer of bribery, threat of defamation felonies in Washington state." Victoria paled. Kincaid vanished down the corridor. Andrew faced Lauren. "Let me handle the fallout. Please, just focus on getting better." She closed her eyes, overwhelmed, but when she opened them again, her fingers curled tighter around his. "I'm tired of running." Her voice was hoarse but certain. "Tired of pretending I don't feel this." Andrew's chest flooded with relief so intense it hurt. But outside the hospital window, sirens wailed, and on distant screens, the leaked headline was already lighting up social media. Tomorrow would be war. "We are truly sorry to pause at this cliffhanger, but would you trust Andrew's promise or protect yourself like Lauren has always done? And do you think Victoria's smear campaign can still destroy them? Or has she finally overplayed her hand? If you're invested in their fate, please tap the heart and like the video so we can bring you next part without delay." The morning after the hospital showdown, Seattle news feeds exploded. Photos of Andrew Caldwell and mystery housekeeper Lauren Hayes splashed across every screen, followed within hours by an even juicier clip, Victoria Pierce's voice, smooth as glass, offering hush money and threats. Daniel's recording went viral, flipping public sympathy overnight. Suddenly, the billionaire wasn't the predator in the shadows. He was the man protecting a woman everyone now wanted to know. But social media moved faster than reputations could heal. Caldwell Ventures' board demanded damage control. Andrew ignored them. Instead, he spent 3 days in a cramped hospital chair beside Lauren's bed, reading Isabel's letters aloud. With each paragraph, her mother's regrets, her warnings, her reluctant hope. Lauren's skepticism cracked. By the time she was released, she wasn't just stronger. She was determined. "Tomorrow," Andrew said as they stepped into fresh November air, "the university votes on whether to make Next Horizon permanent. Victoria's allies will try to kill it, claim it's a vanity stunt. Then we give them something they can't dismiss." Lauren replied, eyes bright with purpose. "Results in truth." That night they worked side by side in Andrew's penthouse, now dotted with sticky notes, coffee cups, and Dorothy's homemade pie. Daniel mined hospital data to prove Next Horizon graduates were filling critical teaching shortages. Dorothy stitched together testimonials from parents whose children finally had stable educators. Andrew rehearsed his speech, but Lauren stopped him halfway. "Tell them why you started the fund," she insisted, placing her palm on his chest. "Tell them what changed you." He brushed a lock of hair from her face. "You did." The next evening, the Grand Hall of Cascadia University shimmered with chandeliers and skeptical donors. Cameras lurked like insects. Victoria appeared in a velvet gown, smile, fixed, flanked by lawyers. Yet the hush that followed Lauren onto the stage felt almost reverent. She began with numbers: 45 displaced teachers, reinstated 15% uptick in student retention, rural districts reborn. Applause scattered, polite, lukewarm. Then she unfolded a letter, its ink faded. "This was written 22 years ago by my mother, Isabel Rowan." Her voice trembled but held. She gave up teaching in love because she believed safety mattered more than purpose. She regretted it every day until her death. She asked me if I ever found the courage she lacked to choose love and let it guide my work. She looked directly at the trustees. Next Horizon isn't charity. It is a second chance for educators, for students, for families, and for people like me who almost settled for surviving instead of living. Silence. Then a single clap. Another. Soon the room thundered. Victoria's turn. She strode to the microphone, poised to detonate. "Compelling story," she said, voice dripping disdain. "But romance shouldn't dictate millions." Before she could continue, Andrew stepped forward uninvited. "Victoria, you're absolutely right." A murmur rippled. Money should never be spent on ego, which is why, effective tonight, I'm transferring sole control of Next Horizon to the University Endowment. Independent oversight, zero influence from me. He held up signed documents, cameras flashed. If you still think this is vanity, feel free to vote it down. Victoria's eyes widened, her final leverage gone. A trustee called for an immediate ballot. Hands rose, almost unanimous, the lone dissent coming from a flustered donor, clearly in Victoria's pocket. Next Horizon became permanent. Its funding tripled on the spot. While champagne flowed, Andrew found Lauren, backstage, cheeks flushed with victory. "You just gave away your favorite project," she whispered. "I gave it its freedom," he answered. "Now it can't be used to hurt you." "You still don't owe me anything," she said, though, her fingers laced through his. He smiled. "That's good, because what I want to give you isn't owed, it's chosen." He knelt, producing a simple sapphire ring, blue as the sound at dawn. Gasps scattered behind the curtain. "Lauren Hayes, will you choose this life with me? Not the life the tabloids sell, not the one fear imagined, just the ordinary, extraordinary mess we make together." Tears spilled before words. She nodded, laughing and crying all at once. Yes, yes to the mess, yes to all of it. When he slipped the ring on the sapphire, caught the light, and flared like a promise finally kept. 6 months later, spring transformed Seattle into a city of blossoms. Daniel, now Dr. Hayes, volunteered afternoons at Dorothy Senior Center, while Lauren, Dr. Hayes Caldwell, in progress, directed Next Horizon's national expansion from a sun-drenched office stacked with books and fresh lilies. Victoria, facing an ethics probe, sold her shares and relocated to Europe, her entourage smaller, her headlines colder. One rainy Sunday, Andrew and Lauren hosted the program's first alumni picnic at Gasworks Park. Formerly jobless teachers handed out kites to squealing students. Andrew grilled burgers beneath a sagging tent, while Lauren recited Neruda to a circle of teens who'd never heard poetry spoken like invitation. As dusk painted the sky lavender, Andrew slipped an arm around her waist. "This," he whispered, "is better than any boardroom win." She nestled against him. "Because it's real." He kissed her temple. "Real stays." That night, they walked home past the spot where he once stood in the rain, shadowing the woman he couldn't name. The street lamp glowed warmer now, as if time itself had forgiven his trespass. Lauren stopped, turned to him beneath the light. "Remember when you asked how I ever rest? I do." She rose on tiptoe, kissed him softly. "I rest here." And for the first time since neither of them could remember, the city noise felt like music, and the future, bright with second chances, felt utterly confidently theirs. Would you have forgiven Andrew after everything, or made him work longer for your trust? And do you think Victoria deserves redemption, or did her own choices seal her fate? How did this story land for you? Comment number 3 if it satisfied your heart, number 1 if it missed the mark, or number 2 if it was somewhere in between. Tell us which country you're tuning in from, and don't forget to tap the heart, and share the video so more dreamers can believe in second chances.